All right. Hello, all you sports fans out there in podcasts, and welcome once again to another edition of Babbling Brooks, your new favorite podcast, where I, your host Brooks, try to bring you some of today's sports news with just a little twist of my point of view. Hope you're all having a terrific Tuesday so far. Looks like the sun is shining so far here in Atlanta. Got a little cloudy yesterday. Was totally cool with it because, it's been hot as hell. We'll take a couple degrees less because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to hit like 97 in the next few days. The other day I was looking at like the extended forecast and on like Google Weather or whatever that shows. And I was seeing like a lot of escalating temperatures, 96, 97, which isn't as hot as it is in Phoenix, but where hopefully that gets something better there because there's people like dying from the heat over there, but they don't have the humidity though in the desert. That's one little difference. Extreme heat, yes, but like 97 here is going to definitely feel like over 100. Not quite the Phoenix hundreds, but some hot enough for me to consider cutting my hair, which I usually don't do. But I'm like, damn, this kind of shit makes me reconsider that. Because it's getting hot. But usually I'll think about it for a second, like when it first gets hot, but the next thing I know it's August, and I still haven't cut my hair, and I'm like, oh, what's the fucking point now? It's getting ready to cool down. But, speaking of cooling down, the Braves, I had a rough couple days, especially one of them. Just losing in general, not good, so it's just strange. Going back to right before the All-Star break, now the Braves have lost 3 of the last 4 games. But it's nothing to be alarmed about. We had a really nice streak going, but you cannot maintain that level all the time. You can't, we went like a 27-4 in a little stretch there. You're not going to do that consistently. Not like constantly. But I say we'll do it consistently. Because I think this team's going to keep winning. But you can't win them all. And we were winning above the average. Like, it was going to kind of catch up a little bit. And it's weird, though, because, it was the first game that we lost out of this little batch was going into the All-Star break against the second-best team in baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays. And these games, after starting out the series, coming out the All-Star break with a resounding 9-0 win, Braves lose back-to-back games. First time they've done that at home in a couple months. I can't remember the last time they did it on the road even, really. It's just, they've been that damn good. So, they still looked really damn good in the first game, or the second game of the series, but the first game we'll be covering today. Because we already talked about the Friday game, of course. This Saturday game, we lost this one, but it was a close one, 6-5. It's one of those weird situations where you a very rare situation. We had Ronald Acuna Jr. hit 2 home runs, number 22 and number 23 on the season. So 3 RBI there, 3 for 5. Gets his 43rd stolen base of the year. Spencer Strider strikes out 10. And we lose? We lose that? I wouldn't have believed it if you told me ahead of time we're going to have that kind of game from Ronald Acuna. That kind of start from Spencer Strider, and we find a way to lose? I don't even know, man. It's just, hey, that's one of those things. I watched this game. It was on Fox, so I was excited I could watch it on my TV. So just watching it on the little illegal stream on my laptop. But it was a good game. They put up a damn fight. It was you were entertained if you were there for that one. Because the Braves kept trying to put themselves back in it. Acuna just doing both things, man. Not just a homer and a steal, but 2 homers and a steal. It's on pace for 39 and 70 something. So very, very close to a 40-40. It's just always just doing some amazing stuff, man. Just so much fun to watch. That's why he is, one of the the most popular player in the game right now, because he's that much fun to watch. You're gonna have Acuna fans in cities that have teams. When I was growing up, you'd have, even still some leftover teams that have been added in the 90s and places like that. There's Braves fans everywhere. But Dan, there's Ronald Acuna fans even more than places than everywhere somehow. Like, you could be in New York and be an Acuna fan. You wouldn't have said that about any Brave in the past, like Chipper. Just Acuna's just transcendent, just like the way he plays the game. And he's shown us flashes of this in the past. I mean, before he got hurt in 2021, he was on a little tear. He was like the only reason, really, or the main reason the Braves were in the position to mount the comeback that they did that led to them winning the World Series. We couldn't have done that without Ronald Acuna, even though he wasn't in uniform during the actual World Series. I still don't believe we would have been there without him. But he still wants to win one that he's like totally in on, and I can't blame him for that, because as a Braves fan, it would be incredible to see us win a second one, because it feels like we just win one at a time. Boston, 1914, 1957 in Milwaukee, and just a few years later, new team in Atlanta, win it in 95. Now we're outside it, but it felt like we should have won more in that little stretch. That's what was so disappointing and kind of made me a jaded sports fan a little bit, because it just felt like the Braves were so close so many years. 91, going from last to first, losing to the Twins, and what some would say one of the best World Series ever. I just finished reading a book about it. It was really interesting, because that's like an early memory, but not like a full-on memory for me. I didn't watch that World Series. I believe I wouldn't have been staying up late enough to watch a whole game in 91. I was 7 years old, just turned 7 in 91. 92, I remember some. I don't even remember watching 95. That annoys me. I know I did by 95. I would have been going into just starting 6th grade. So I would have been able to stay up later for that one, but it just annoys me. I don't remember watching it. It's one of those things as you age, especially party some years, some 10 hard living years, maybe destroyed some extra brain cells. Still smoke weed, maybe that affects the memory a little bit, but mostly just age. I'm approaching 40. I'll be 39 in about a month. So I'm going to blame it on age. And just memories just disappear. I'm hoping it's somewhere in the subconscious, just pops up one day. But 91 was an early, 92 losing, 93 just kind of pretty similar actually to last year, when the Phillies, as a wild card, go to the World Series and then lose, thankfully. That was the Blue Jays winning back-to-back last year. It was a rare time. I'm rooting for the Astros and didn't even consider it. Some people are like, you can't root for the Astros. I'm like, when they play the Phillies, I will. When Dusty Baker is their manager, I have no problem with it. Come on. Go Astros in that scenario. But if they're playing us, fuck them. That's just how it is. But either way, like I said, great game here for Acuna. Strider falls to 11-3 with this loss. But he got off to an awesome start, man. He had the first 6 batters up and down. Perfect 2 innings. 5 of those 6 outs were strikeouts. So we got half his strikeouts the first 2 innings. Ends up going 6 innings. Gives up 8 hits, 5 runs. So more runs than you wanted to see. But it just felt like the White Sox were kind of due, man. Sort of how the Rays were when they finally won that last game of that series. The White Sox, yeah, they're 4th place in their division. It's not a great division in the AL Central. But they still got some talent, man. They got Tim Anderson, that Andrew Benintendi, Jake Berger, who I saw was kind of neat. He and Soroka had already connected up over the past, because they're the only 2 MLB players to come back from 2 totally torn Achilles. So they got kind of that little connection. And Soroka, spoiler alert, they strikes him out tomorrow. The next game we're talking about. I about said tomorrow. It's tomorrow for this game, but not tomorrow for today, whatever. So, it was just, I don't know, man. I felt like they were due. I mean, they got Luis Robert Jr. They got, I mentioned Tim Anderson. They got some talent on this team. Andrew Vaughn. So they were kind of due, man. And the Braves just didn't have enough. Going down 3 runs just like that. And some of that was, this inning, and then a later inning, we had Eddie Rosario miss playing a ball, letting it get past him after they had already scored. And maybe it was some of the hamstring tightness he was having, because Snitker ended up pulling him out of the game. They said it was hamstring tightness, but I wonder if some of it was just because he messed up. He had a couple really bad miscues in the outfield. I mean, not any better than better than I could have done. Obviously, I would have I wouldn't have been known what to do. I probably would have torn something just trying to move a little bit out there. Totally out of shape. I mean, I do walk around a lot, but not like major league level running around the outfield type shit. So I'm in decent shape for I guess a 38-year-old dishwasher, but not a major league baseball player. So but still, it was like normally in plays that Eddie makes, so it makes me believe that it probably actually is some sort of hamstring tightness or something affecting him. Because it looked like his last year, the beginning of the season, when he was making mistakes like constantly. And this isn't constant. This is just one game, so it's different. But when his eyes were messed up and he was making some very bad plays in the field then. So it's just maybe a couple sometimes you would say, well, how would that affect this with the hamstring? Well, you never know, man. Just how you're gonna having something like that. Some sort of feeling when something feels off, you don't feel comfortable moving the way you normally would maybe, and it could just throw you off just enough to kind of make some mistakes. And definitely that mistake cost us 3-run third inning, especially considering how good Spencer had been doing, man. He was just rolling, man, making work of these dudes, just moving right through them, mowing them down. Like I said, 5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. And once those 3 runs, man, that's tough. You go down 3-0, and just like that, you're in a hole. But the thing is, man, the Braves dug themselves right out of that damn hole first time around. Eddie Rosario, maybe not feeling so great about how he about that misplaying that ball in the field, so he comes up and does what he can to make up for it by knocking one out the park to open up the bottom part of the 3rd inning. So great job. There you go, Eddie. That's his 15th homer of the year. Braves on the board. Great to respond right away. Then you got a couple batters later. Ronald Acuna Jr. hitting the first of his 2 homers in the game. This one a 2-run shot. Tied it up just like that. It's a tie game. But then there's the problem. The White Sox were able to score 3 more times in this game. The 5th, the 6th, and the 7th inning. And the Braves are only able to score 2 more times. Austin Riley had an RBI single knocking in Ozzie Albies in the 5th inning. That tied it up again after a Benintendi double that he tried to turn into a triple, but he still was able to drive in a run to give them the lead again. So, good job, Austin, tying it back up. But we already talked about Jake Berger. Not only did he hit a home run in the second game, he hits a home run in the first one. The first part of these 2 wins for the White Sox, and that gives them the lead that they would not relinquish, thanks to another RBI from Andrew Benintendi, this time on an RBI single, driving in Colas. So they had the 6-4 lead, and that was all they need, because Ronald Acuna doing what he could do by knocking one out the park again, his 2nd homer of the game. This one kind of sneaking over the field. The first one was 426. This one only 353. But hey, as long as it's out the park. But the thing is, it wasn't enough because there wasn't nobody on base. And then nobody else does anything. Game over. We were right there, man. That home run, which obviously the first one it extended the streak, but they get 28 straight games with a home run. That, what a run it was. Yeah, it ends the next game. Spoiler alert, we don't hit a home run. But, man, that's an awesome run. And we got to save some of them home runs for October, am I right? I'm right? That's the thing. It's really great making history along the way. But what really matters is the final fucking outcome. It's great to do all this shit, man. But like I was talking about before, it's going to be disappointing if we don't win a World Series. Right now, the Braves are leading the league in home runs and ERAs. It's only 4 teams have done that in history. 3 of them have won World Series. I mean, it's a lot of baseball left, though. That's the most important thing, though, win the World Series. Especially once you've won it once. It's it'd be nice to win the division, and we will. I do not see us losing this division. I guess I should knock on wood real quick. I am sitting at a table, so it's easy to do. But just what looking great, man. But they couldn't do it. Like I said, Ronald tried to get us back in there, but ended up coming up a run short. But you really couldn't be disappointed this game. Can't say the same for the next one. But yeah, you had Ronald open up the ninth with a home run. Then right after that, Ozzie Albies singles. So like, you're feeling pretty good. But Riley strikes out. Matt Olson, moves Albies over. But then Sean Murphy comes up with a chance to tying game on third base. Sean Murphy grounds into a double play. And that's it. Game over. Game-ending double play. But, you can't win them all. But, at least, kept that home run streak going. And after that, we still had a chance, technically, to keep the series win streak going. But, of course, that was not to be. Talk some more about some of our guys. Riley ended up being 1 of 5. Sean Murphy with a rare 0 of 5 game. Hopefully with a day off Sunday, not playing with Darno got the shot. And then yesterday, the whole team was off. Could be tired. It was like, I'm sure he was excited to be in his first All-Star game. But that's, not an All-Star break for the Braves. That's one of the few bad things about being so damn good. When you got like 80 of your guys at the All-Star game, like especially the ones that are playing and stuff, it can throw you off a little bit because you're flying across the country, doing all the practices and stuff, playing in the game, and pretty much just flying back across the country, and you didn't really get that much of a break, if any. Maybe a day at the house or something. So hopefully the day off yesterday, good for the team. Didn't affect Strider, but he didn't play, so I'm sure he didn't really practice at the All-Star game. Him and Bryce were just hanging out. He had a little bit of struggle there in the third, but I think most of that could have been avoided if Eddie plays that ball a little better and doesn't let it get past him. Maybe the damage is at least limited, because we weren't far away. We didn't really need things to go that much differently. We were right there. But, hey, you can't win them all. Ozuna 1 of 2 in this one. We did walk twice, so getting on base 3 times. Arcia and Harris both 0 of 3. Harris did get on base and score after a walk. The highlights in this one for the Sox. Benintendi 3 of 5, 3 RBI. Jake Berger 2 of 4 with a home run. So, those guys really just taking care of business. And I have a soft spot for the White Sox, so I can't be too upset. My friend Jim's a big White Sox fan. They're like my secondary, or third, I guess, American League team growing up. Because there was always the Mariners, man. Ken Griffey. It was the closest thing we had really to our generation to like Willie Mays, Say Hey Kid. Just kind of the center fielder that's like the face of the game. Fun to watch, hits the ball, catches the ball incredibly. If he hadn't had injuries, man, he'd be really going. But apparently there is talks for him to maybe be part of a Legends home run derby. And that'd be pretty badass. Apparently guys like Jim Tomei, potentially Albert Pujols, David Ortiz, like all these guys are potentially in. I'm like, that I would for sure watch, man. Shit, that'd be incredible, man. Griffey showing he could still hit it out the park. And I think he feels disappointed the way things went with the injuries. He's like, man, I'm healthy now. I don't have to worry about running. I just hit the damn ball. I can do that. Said he would need some time to get ready. I mean, he even felt like with a year of preparation, he'd go up against Pete Alonso, an active player. So that's some confidence there. I'd love to see it, because fuck the Mets. And let's see what else going on with this one. So, Ozzie 2 of 4, Matt Olson 3 of 5, same as Ronald Acuna. And just what a great game. Acuna getting that stolen base, too. Like, I feel like he's pretty much, I think he's going to break Otis Nixon's stolen base record. And then they were asking Brian Snitker if he tells him to, he worries about him, running too hard early in the year. And Snitker's like, man, he's young. He's healthy. I ain't going to stop. I can tell him not to. Especially, where he's struggled with injury. And, last year, even though he was technically healthy, I think it was kind of missed on a lot of people that he was pretty much, playing on a new leg, running on a new leg, hitting on a new leg. It just throws everything off. But I felt, just from the rumblings I was hearing, and you see him in that, in the Venezuelan home run derby in his home country, and the excitement winning that, and playing the World Baseball Classic, he he is having so much fun. Like, he loves baseball more than ever. Bryce Snicker had a good, like, an interesting thing talking about how you get injured. A lot of guys, number one, you mature as you age, have kids, that kind of stuff. But also, just like when you get hurt, you realize how quickly it can all be gone. Same thing happened to Hurt Soroka. Kind of talk about it, how it's like motivated him and his comeback from injury. And Acuna, even though it was wasn't as like long term as Soroka and dealing with multiple injuries, it's still a pretty significant injury that Acuna had to deal with. And he's on a mission, man. He wants to make some history. And he wants to win a damn World Series, more importantly. I think that's the top thing with him. And he knows correctly that he gets on base. He makes moves that, like, he changes the game. Like, when you get him on base, the pitcher has to constantly be thinking about him. What's he going to do? Is he going to steal? Yeah, he's going to steal, but you still can't keep him. Actually, that reminds me, this day in history, it was a triple steal for the Braves. It was Hank Aaron's only stolen base, or only steal of home base in his career. So, fun fact. Also, this day in history is when we traded for Fred McGriff. Got him from the Padres, I believe it was. Yeah, because he's Blue Jays, Padres, and Braves, I believe, was the order of it. It only took a couple players. So, some other good news from Saturday. Max Fried pitching in his second rehab appearance. And I didn't realize it at first when I got really excited about he went 3 innings and got 3 strikeouts. I didn't look close. I'm like, oh, it wasn't with Gwinnett. Because Gwinnett went on the road. And they want to understandably keep Max Fried kind of close to home base. Because you don't want, necessarily to traveling all over the place, especially for a rehab appearance. So he went to Rome, which is the Braves' high A team. Of course, I always thought it was weird that there was 2 levels of A-ball. There used to be 2 levels of rookie league. I don't know if there is anymore. Because I remember the team in my hometown, the Bristol Tigers, and then the Bristol White Sox, was a high rookie team. And low rookie was really just pretty much like at the spring training locations, give or take. But Max he looked really good. He did so good, it only took him 30 pitches to get through the 3 innings. And they wanted him to get around 50. So after the game, he threw a bullpen session to get those, keep building up. Because that's the goal, is to get him up, close, 90, 100 pitches within the next month, I would believe. At least pretty damn close to that. Started out with 35 in the first one in Gwinnett. Went like an inning and a third. This time getting 3 innings. And, it's good. He should look dominant against, high A guys. No offense to them. Maybe some future stars there, but Max Fried is a current superstar pitcher for the Braves. So we'll see how he does in the next one. Definitely encouraging. So he's feeling good. And could we get him back? Like, I would, it's possible end of this month. Definitely before my birthday on August 23rd. I would say early August at the latest. But he's trending in the right direction. As long as there's no setback with his 3rd start. Because I think his 3rd one will be like really the key one to see like how ready he is. So, good to see him progressing, but we'll just see where it goes. Hopefully it looks like he'll be joining the rotation soon. And maybe, Braves still figuring it out. That's their one weakness route is all these pitcher injuries. And the bullpen has really been going through it because the starting rotation, it all happened so early, with Max, Kyle getting hurt, that we've kind of gotten over that and been able to ride that. Thanks to Bryce Elder, thanks to Spencer Strider, and some good starts here and there from everybody else, including now Michael Soroka, who strangely did not get the start in this one. I read somewhere it could be a sign that maybe they want to try to, if they get like their bullpen in their starting rotation back to full strength with Max Fried, maybe they consider having Soroka, especially for like the playoff haul, sort of like, a guy that can get you some, innings there in the middle of a game. I don't know how I feel about that. I like him as a starter, but I'm not going to question Brian Snicker at this point. But also, they're still figuring it out. And what happened with Kolby Allard in this game might change some of those plans. Because I was surprised to see Kolby. I felt like it would be Bryce Elder. He will be starting tonight in the series opener against Arizona. And I think it's Charlie and then Spencer again. Good thing about having that extra day off. Give everybody a chance to get right, an extra day of rest. But Kolby Allard, it was not a pretty one. We talked about Game 2 of this series on Saturday. Was it a good loss? It's one of those you live with. You're like, whatever. You can't win them all. But that was a pretty damn good game. Sunday, it was not a good game. I didn't get to watch it, and I'm glad. I was working, so like by the time I looked at it, I was like, oh wow, we're getting our ass kicked. And it was like the 7th, and we weren't able to do anything else. But it was our first series loss since like the end of May. It was like 11 straight series that the Braves had won. Also ends the home run streak at 28. Puts us in the second longest streak of all time when it comes to hitting a home run in a game for a team. And like I said, it was going to end eventually. We weren't going to go the rest of the year. Just the fact that in over 150 years of Major League Baseball, no one's done that. Like only one other team, has done like longer than that. Nobody in the National League. So it was a pretty damn good little stretch. And it's kind of weird too. Like the last series we lost, I believe if I'm correct, was the Oakland series. The A's, who are worst team in baseball because their owner don't want to spend no damn money because he's trying to make them look bad. So he's like, oh, I guess I just have to go to Vegas. I still don't like that. I hope they figure out a way to keep the A's in Oakland. I know there's going to be a team in Vegas, but I don't really see why it needs to be them. Yeah, gotta be another team. And it just would be fucked up for Oakland, man. Especially seems like they're trying to get a stadium done that could be good for the city. Maybe that could help. Send a bell in on the city, maybe help it out. So I gotta take my shirt off. I'm burning up. Like the back half of my little shotgun house I rent is just like so much warmer than the front half. Just the way it was built. It's from like 1940. I love living there. It's my favorite spot I've lived at in Atlanta because I'm very accessible to pretty much anywhere. I can get downtown, East Atlanta, just right between Grant Park and like the Braves' old stadium over at Turner Field. So it's kind of a cool little spot. Summer Hill on the rise. That's where I work right now. Little neighborhood right across from Turner Field, pretty much. Or Georgia State football stadium, whatever. Center Park Field. But yeah, this was a rough one. They're definitely getting outpitched in this one. Which Kolby, he'd had a good start last time around. It was against Cleveland, but this one was rough. It got off to a bad start, man. It was just like that. We're at a 4-0 hole, and then they're like, well, he's got some kind of shoulder tightness, so then he's out of the game. But he might have got pulled anyway. Because I don't know if he's one of those guys that Snickers got enough confidence in to let him ride out a whole excuse me. Whew. God, I hate sneezing sometimes. But, you give up 4 runs, 7 hits, did not make it out in the second inning, 1 2/3 inning, 1-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. And it was rough, and we just got rocked in this. Berger had the home run that gave them the lead that they didn't relinquish in the previous game. Hits a 461-foot homer to get the scoring started in the second. You had Anderson drive in a run. Robert Jr. drives in a run. So pretty much back-to-back RBI singles after the 2-run homers, 4-0. And the Braves, previous game, came strike right back. This time they wait till the next inning, and you got Matt Olson drives in their only run on an art with get that RBI single, knocking in Ozzie Albies. And then the Sox weren't done. They get some more action throughout the game, just padding their score, and then the Braves just too deep a hole to get out of. Especially the way the Sox were pitching in this. But you had Dylan Cease, who actually I did not realize this at first, but he is from Georgia, just like about 20 miles north of the stadium, so pretty close to Atlanta. Pretty close to Atlanta. And he's not been pitching too good this year. It's been kind of a rough season. Hadn't quite looked like himself. Was a Cy Young runner-up last year. And I was thinking with this team, and I felt like it was important to mention the other day that they're not as bad as their record shows. And really nobody is in baseball technically. Like even the shitty teams got some guys that can knock your socks off on any given day. And the White Sox got a lot of really, really good talent. It's just like one of those things where sometimes things don't go your way. As a pitcher, sometimes your arm don't feel right or the ball just doesn't move the way you expect it to. But it was working for him in this one. Dylan Cease looked pretty damn good. He ended up was like dominating really mostly. He had 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, and the amount of time that Kolby Allard stayed in this game, 1 and 2/3 inning, is how long it took for him to give up his first hit. So, he was looking better than our pitching. I'm sure it was nice for him because he's never got to pitch against the Braves in Atlanta. So first time for him getting the pitch in front of his home. Maybe I'm sure he had some people from his hometown come down to see him. So good for him. Bad for us apparently. He had struck out 6. So hopefully, I'm sure he's hoping that that's more of what we'll see from him. And I'm fine with that. We're done with him now. We're not going to play him again unless it's the World Series. And like I said, I'm always going to have a soft spot for the White Sox. The Tigers and the White Sox were the 2 rookie league teams in my hometown. Like first the Tigers, and then in middle school, the White Sox took over. And it was the Appalachian League. So it was a lot of fun to watch. I got to see some, especially with the Tigers. It was more of my formative baseball years, so I have more of a connection. But I always got a little soft spot for the Sox, especially since we play them so rarely. It's like, why are you going to hate on them? Why are you going to hate on them, Got a local guy doing good. And their 1 through 3 hitters in this game were 9 of 14. Ben Attendee had a great series. Like he just kept putting in work on his 3 of 5. Tim Anderson kind of been playing below his normal level so far this year, but he's 2 of 4. Luis Robert Jr., 4 of 5, with 3 RBI, including that home run. So they had our number in this one, man. Just couldn't catch a break. McGew almost got his head taken off on 1 hit. He made it the exact same amount as the starter. That's not usually a good thing when your first 2 pitchers in the game just make it like a 3 1/3 inning pretty much. Because he went 1 and 2/3 himself. And he gave up 2 runs on 4 hits. Struck out 2, walked 1, so that's a little more encouraging. And at least he didn't get his head taken off by that ball. You had Ben Heller come in and finish that 3rd inning, and he didn't give up anything. Struck out 1. Soroka, that was the big the story in this one, pitching-wise for the Braves. He ended up pitching more than any other pitcher for the Bravos at 3 innings pitched. Only gave up 3 hits. Gave up a couple runs, but struck out 3. And I thought you can live with those, 3 runs, but considering what everyone else did. Because sort of like when a team gets hot like that, man, the bat starts swinging right, and it's just tough to overcome. And he did strike out, but he got Berger out. So that was kind of cool. They had never faced off against each other. They've become friends, talking about the Achilles injuries and dealing with that. So that's kind of a cool little story. Berger hit some burgers in this one. He was the big difference in this. And like I said, we only able to get the Matt Olson run. Really disappointing, but pitching-wise, Kirby Yates, Raisel Iglesias finishing this one off, pitching perfect 8th and 9th innings. But by that point, man, the damage had been done. Like when once you go up 8-1 in the 6th, like if you don't score like by the 7th inning, trying to like put that 7 runs. Yeah, you can score 7 runs in 1 or 2 innings. But it's not like a common thing. It's tough. And like I said, the Sox, man, they just had us in this one. Because after Cease took out, he did such a good job, but nobody else gives up any runs. And then they struck us out 6 times by Cease, and then the bullpen combined to strike us out 6 times. So a team that usually doesn't strike out a lot, striking out a little too much in this game. But we were kind of due. We've been playing too damn good. We gotta save some wins for October at this point. But yeah, we had Albee struck out twice, Austin Riley struck out twice. Almost everybody struck out once, other than Acuna. Acuna got on base 3 times, 1 of 2 with 2 walks. So he's still sitting 333. And then Travis d'Arnaud, who started in this game, Sean Murphy getting the day off, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So not a great 2 games for Atlanta catchers. Like 0 for 8 combined. Just rare. I think it's a rarity though. I don't think we're going to see a lot of that. Just baseball's a hard sport. Hitting the baseball is not easy. I could basically not do it. Even in Little League, like I pretty much got on base when they walked me because I had no strike zone because I was tiny. So yeah, like it's tough to hit a baseball. These guys are a lot better at it than me, but it's just hard. This was a rough one. One of the kind of bright spots of this one, we got of course Acuna getting on base 3 times. Michael Harris the second had a better game after 0-3 in the previous one. It was 2-4 in this one. Got his 12th stolen base of the season, so good to see that. Matt Olson 1-4 with the RBI for the only run of the team. Ozzie with a rare 0-3. Just mean he's about to bounce back with a big game. Home run. Ozzie tonight. I'm calling it. Take that, Diamondbacks. And also a cool little story. Charlie Culberson finally getting his first at-bat as an Atlanta Brave this season after getting called up. Sent down on Father's Day when his dad was there to throw out the first pitch. So designated for assignment. Becomes a free agent. And then signs back with the Braves, comes back up from Gwinnett, and here he is, pinch hits finally. I've been really kind of surprised that they haven't used him at all as a pinch hitter late in games. But I guess you just, everybody's been doing so damn good. The way, Orlando's so, really, better than all these guys defensively, I would believe, from the shortstop. Ozzie really damn good. So I think the fact that they're all doing so good on defense, it's not like in left field some games Eddie Rosario gets replaced later on by Kevin Pillar, but you don't see him not start, he did this one. So I wonder if that's concerning after they did take him out of the previous game with hamstring tightness after making a couple miscues out there in left field. So Sam Hilliard getting his first start since I believe Michael Harris was injured and didn't do much. But Culberson does get a chance in this one. And he goes 1-1, gets on base, pinch hit in the ninth. But, man, when you're already down, 7 runs in the bottom of the ninth inning, like you need more than a single. You need like a grand slam and a couple doubles with the, you got to do something. And Culberson, his first bat with the Braves, 1-1. But then Michael Harris strikes out. Orlando Arcia, fly out. Kevin Pillar, fly out. Game over. So, very disappointing game. Not a fun one. But hey, man, you're going to have... Mama said there'd be days like that, and that's what Mama said. And Mama right. And baseball's a long year. Like, you literally can't win them all. And I did not mean to talk about those 2 games for 37 minutes. But hey, shit happens. So we'll do it briefly, talk about the Hawks a little bit. They did finish up the Summer League. They did not make the playoffs. The only teams that made the playoffs in quotation marks was like just 4 teams, just the undefeated ones, that went 3-0. And so the Hawks, everybody getting their final consolation game, taking on the Dallas Summer League team and getting kind of stomped, 101-80. But by the end of the game, they just kind of, after getting stomped, like doubled up in the third quarter. Like the benches were emptied in the fourth, and that's gonna happen to this because honestly, especially if you're not in the finals, even then, like I was like, oh, let me watch the final. Like I just guys on the Rockets I liked, and most of them were sitting by this because the goal is not to win. I mean, yeah, you want to win the games and the players that are playing, but the team, like it's cool to have a Summer League championship, but the main thing is something in my nose, not covered. Yeah, but the main thing is is development and talent evaluation, trying to figure out who you want on your G League team, who do you want like with the big club, and who's going to be a free agent. Maybe you'll keep a file on and come back to them if you need them. So it's mostly about those kind of decisions and just getting your rookies, getting your young players some chance to put in some work, get some play against NBA-ish competition. But the big names not playing a lot. The Hawks did play their first round pick more than some of the especially lottery picks, the top picks like Wembanyama. These guys, were taken out early. Of course, Thompson, one of the top 8, Amen Thompson and Scoot Henderson, both having minor injuries. And you're not going to risk it. But Kolby, they want to get him. They want to see if he can be like a backup point guard because that kind of affects some of the moves they could make. And like whether they want to keep Patty Mills or somebody else, or like what kind of return they get in the trade. Because from what I'm hearing, the trade talks are heating up with the Raptors and the Hawks, with the Dallas Mavericks trying to insert themselves in there as well and somehow being able to get Clint Capella out of it all. Some of the trades I like that I've seen, one of them had us sending A.J. Griffin to the Raptors alongside DeAndre Hunter. I do not like that. I think that's too much. Like, I'd rather give up that extra first-round pick and get to keep A.J. I think he could be an important piece. Like, if DeAndre Hunter gets traded, like, I think A.J. Griffin should get some serious consideration to get some of the small forward minutes, be him and Sadiq Bey. I saw one thing saying that the Hawks could start Bogdanovich at small forward, and I don't know, man. I could see you using that lineup some, because if he returns to his old form, an awesome three-point shooter. He had moments this past season, but it felt like it came and went more than it normally does. So it'd be a nice hot shooting lineup potentially, but I just don't think he's big enough to play small forward consistently, especially with his injuries. He's a shooting guard, and he's a backup shooting guard. No offense, it's just true. I mean, hopefully he proves me wrong, like if he does play, but I don't see that. That was just some random site. So who knows? But Kobe Buffkin was the leading scorer for the Hawks in this losing effort. 18 points in 23 minutes. Also had a steal and a block. So you like to see that. Don't like to see him having another 0 for game from 3. He was 0 of 6. But, like, we know he can shoot from 3. Like, he's shown he can in college. And, that little stretch in the second game. But, like, yeah, there's going to be times where he's learning. He's still getting comfortable. Could be nervous. And, like, so this is just practice, pretty much. These are practice games. These are not NBA games. These are NBA Summer League games, which means they're practice. We're talking about practice. And also, the Capital One commercial that has AI is way superior, that references the practice thing, is way superior to one of those, like, places about finding a place to live, like finding an apartment or a house that they try to, like, parody or pay homage. And that one is, like, one of those commercials I have to mute. Like, we're talking about moving? And it just wasn't anywhere near as good as like Allen Iverson doing it, and the Steph Curry commercial too, and Kevin Hart. That was a pretty good commercial. But turning it back to this, and one thing that I really was impressed with Kobe Buffkin, only one turnover. He's had some high turnover numbers in these games, so good to see that. And he did hit the game winner, the game before this, on a nice little move. So he's got some talent, definitely some potential to be a backup, come off the bench, could play either guard position as well. Like, he's had some high assist numbers in some games, not so much this one, but definitely someone that, can hope to contribute, do some stuff. I think he has a good chance at playing with the big club. I mean, unless they decide not to get him some work in there in the G League. But I don't really know, sort of how Quinn Snyder is with this. I know with Nate, sometimes he didn't give the young guys enough of a chance, so we'll see if Quinn Snyder's different at that. I feel like that throw off the development of Jalen Johnson and then a little bit A.J. Griffin. Some other notes from this one. Mo Gay, only 7 points. We did have 2 blocks and a steal, and he has shown some potential. Could be, I don't know if they're going to be putting somebody that comes off the bench. I think a lot of that depends. I wouldn't see it right away, maybe. I know just depends on like what we do with Okongwu. But like now, he would be, I would think, a center. He's 6'11", so power forward, obviously, at the the least. And as of now, we have Bruno Fernando to back up Okongwu, who's backing up Clint Capella. Good chance Clint Capella gets moved, so that would leave us with Fernando still as a backup. And I guess a lot of it depends on how the trade goes and what we get in return. One thing saw with the inclusion of Dallas, us getting JaVale McGee, which is not something I'd be super excited about, but if we get Pascal Siakam in the deal, that'd be the thing you'd be excited about, him as the starting power forward, and then Okongwu back the starting center, and then we're going to have McGee to back him up. So Gay, I'm kind of back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start out in G League, but I wouldn't be too shocked if he is able to get a role with the team. Because there's always going to be those guys that don't play a lot. Maybe, last year Bruno Fernando barely played. So maybe he gets some of those minutes instead. But Fernando does have some potential, and he's done well for the Hawks in the past. Just a lot of it, depends on what's going on behind the scenes and what kind of moves end up being made. I definitely am okay with any trade involving Garrison Matthews because I barely know who he is. And he can shoot occasionally, but like definitely not someone to be like excited about. Like it was one thing, it was like saying let's just trading him straight up or something. Like, no one's going to want that. And something concerning though, Vic Krejci fighting to try to get his guaranteed money, his deadline be in the next few days, I believe. He only played 8 minutes in this one. 2 points, missed all his threes. He left with an ankle sprain. With that happening, I hate to say it for him, I believe he's going to be released by the Hawks. I mean, I just don't see someone already getting hurt, and you want to try to it's early, yeah, and get better, but he's just not done a lot. Like the great thing with Vic, shout out to his like energy on the bench. But I know 1.6 might be too much million. You might be too much to pay somebody to cheer from the bench. I do appreciate that he was in the, providing that energy game after game. You would see him, on the sideline, amping his dudes up. That's great, but is it worth that kind of money? Probably not. And it's another guy kind of quiet in this one, Tyrese Martin, but he did have 5 rebounds to go with 5 points and 4 assists and 1 steal. And Etienne was one of our next guys coming off the bench. He had 14 points. Could have had more, though. He was 1 of 6 from 3. Brady Manick had 11 points, 4 rebounds. Miles Norris, so we got in a 2-way contract, 4 points, 6 rebounds. Seth Lundy, 3 points, had 2 blocks, but 0 of 5 from downtown. And I believe those guys are going to be in the G League for sure. Like Tyrese Martin, like I know that's the thing. Like he had a quiet one too, so we'll see. I feel like one or none of those two. They're not going to keep Martin and Krejci, and it's possible they decide not to pay either. Because I mean, I don't know. Like I would understand that. Like Tyrese Martin, I feel like maybe he's worth it. And Vic, if he's actually healthy, wouldn't be bad. But I don't know. This team's crammed. Like we got to make a move. That's like we're still waiting on that. Like we feel like the other shoe's about to drop. It feels like something's about to happen on the Pascal Siakam front, which I'm cool with. But I think the Hawks need to like try to make sure, like, hey man, like, do we have a chance at re-signing you? Because you don't want to do all that for a rental, and then he just goes right back to Toronto, and they get this big package, and you're left with nothing. Like I think you need to do this. Make sure there's a chance at least you can get him to stay. Maybe, because I think that would be a very formidable, like, big three. Not the biggest of threes, but, man, you get, if Quinn Snyder can figure out how to make it work, DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, and Pascal Siakam, and then a couple young guys filling the holes, like Okongwu starting center, because any trade would probably be with, send Capella out. And then small forward, you've got Sadiq Bey, maybe AJ Griffin, maybe even Jalen Johnson. I think he's more of a power forward, but you could go with a big lineup. Throw Bogey out there if you want to go with a small shooting lineup. And then you got a solid bench. And like I said, they still need to make some moves. But I think these Summer League guys have shown potential. The ones that stand out to me is Kolby and Mo, like our top 2 picks. I believe both of them could contribute to the club this year. I think Buffkin probably quicker than Gay. Just depends on what the roster looks like in a couple months when we're about to play basketball. That's what will really matter. Right now the roster's kind of crowded, but at least a couple of these guys are going to be gone via trade in the next couple months, maybe sooner. Because Summer League usually gets some trades moving just because everybody all in the same place. So whether, there'll be some trade news, I would believe, relatively soon. But you never know. Some of these teams will play some hardball. Some other guys that stood out to me. I like some of what I saw from Tyrese Martin. Like, I think he deserves a shot probably. But I don't know how many minutes they'll have for him. But I would choose him over Krejci right now from what we've seen. I believe guys like Miles Norris, Seth Lundy, sorry. They're going to start out in G League, probably work their way up at some point in the year, depending on what goes on. But somebody to keep an eye on is Brady Manick. Because he didn't do much in this game, but he was kind of consistently putting up at least some numbers. And, he did play with Trae 1 year at Oklahoma. He played 4 years at Oklahoma himself. I went 1 year at UNC using that extra year of COVID eligibility. And he's got some potential, especially as a bench guy. If some other guys end up moving, like, he's not someone you'd mind in that as a backup, like small forward. Like, the way he can shoot, like, it'd be a good size, give you some size and some shooting ability. But like I said, it's kind of crowded right now still. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on that. And that's going to be it for me today. Get some laundry out the machine and probably take a nap because I do not work for another like 8 hours. And that's probably too long to be awake. The caffeine finally kicked in, man. Once I started talking, I had some coffee and I was still like, man, I'm still so fucking tired. But now I'm good. But hey, some good things to take from this. I believe we'll have a nice little, some action coming up for the Bravos. Essentially, Arizona was the team we were playing the last 2 years when we went on a run. Like, it was in Arizona both times, but they're good. Even though they're scuttling, they're a really damn good team, really damn good base running. Of course, on the mound tonight, going to have Bryce Elder making his second half debut for the Braves. And in the first half, not in the way he would have preferred. It was kind of a rough outing. So I think we're about to see a good bounce back from Bryce. He's usually pretty good about bouncing back from a rough outing. And same with this Braves, man. I think we're gonna end the 2-game losing streak tonight. And not saying we're gonna start a new streak. Don't want to put that on us. But I just don't see this team keep losing. I think they're gonna win some games. We were bound to lose some though. So that's how it goes, man. It's a long ass season. It's 162 games in a baseball season. And right now we're just at 92 for the Braves, 95 for the White Sox. But still got the best record in baseball. Still got a huge division lead. So I feel pretty good about this team. And we'll come back tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be talking about a win. I'll definitely be talking about the Braves tomorrow, so hopefully about a win. But you never know. Like you can't win them all. But I think we'll got a win coming. I think Bryce Elder can have a nice performance in this one. Ozzie Albies, I think he's due to do something. I think Ozuna maybe could be someone to watch in this game. And Acuna, that's a given. He's gonna do something. Whether it's a home run, knock it in. With a single or a double or getting a stolen base. Like, he's going to do something. It's just crazy. Special player. This is a special team. And, hey, man, I hope you have a special day. I feel like I'm a special person. We all are special, man. This is a special podcast. Every day is special. Whatever that means. But, hey, y'all have a great day. Come back tomorrow for another brand new special episode of Babbling Brooks, talking about our beloved Bravos. And, like I said, have a great day. Come back for more. I'm out of here. Peace out.